comes a time when the noise around you becomes so loud, it starts to drown out your own inner voice. The world tells you to react, to explain, to prove, to chase. But true power often lives in the quiet moments of self-focus. Silence is not weakness. It is the womb where strength is born. Today, I want you to remember this. You don't owe your energy to every passing distraction. You owe it to yourself. There is immense power in choosing silence. In a world where everyone wants to speak, argue, defend, and explain themselves, silence becomes your shield and your sanctuary. It is not the silence of weakness. It is the silence of wisdom. Every time you choose not to react to negativity, you are choosing to protect your energy. Energy is one of the most precious currencies you possess. Once it is scattered through unnecessary arguments, endless explanations, or constant battles with those who do not truly see your worth, you are left drained and empty. But when you remain silent, you hold your energy close to you, and that energy becomes a source of strength. Think about how many times you felt the urge to respond just to prove a point. How many times you wasted your peace trying to convince someone who had already decided what to believe. Silence teaches you that not every action deserves a reaction. Not every voice needs your answer. There are situations where words only make the fire grow bigger, where your explanation only opens the door to more misunderstanding. But silence closes that door. It says, I am not available for this chaos. I value my inner world too much to allow it to be disturbed. When you choose silence, you give yourself permission to rise above the noise. It is an act of self-respect. It is saying, I will not hand over my emotional balance to the hands of someone who thrives on drama. People often mistake silence for weakness, but those who have mastered silence know it is one of the highest forms of power. It takes discipline not to respond. It takes self-control not to engage. And it takes wisdom to know that your peace is worth more than the temporary satisfaction of winning an argument. Silence also creates a sacred space within you where healing can happen. When you are constantly speaking, constantly defending, constantly trying to be heard, your mind becomes cluttered. You become reactive rather than reflective. But in silence, your thoughts settle. Your emotions calm down. You start to see things more clearly. You notice patterns in others and in yourself. You learn who truly values your presence and who only values your reaction. You begin to separate what is essential from what is noise. Protecting your energy through silence does not mean you let others walk over you. It does not mean you suppress your truth. It means you choose your battles wisely. You learn that not everything needs to be addressed. You save your words for moments that matter. You stop watering weeds and start nurturing the seeds that will grow your future. When you hold your peace, you hold your power. Silence is also a mirror. It reflects back to others their own behavior. When someone tries to provoke you and you do not respond, they are left to face their own actions. Your silence can be more impactful than 1,000 words. It is a silent reminder that you are not here to entertain disrespect or negativity. You are here to protect your well-being and to guard your mental and emotional energy like the treasure it is. This is especially important in a world where opinions fly freely and the loudest voice often gets the most attention. But attention is not the same as respect. Noise is not the same as truth. By being silent, you teach others how to treat you. You teach them that your time and your energy are not freely available to be consumed by every argument, every misunderstanding, every piece of drama that comes your way. You begin to live from a place of strength rather than reaction. And the more you practice this, the more peaceful your life becomes. You realize you do not need to answer every question about your life. You do not need to explain every choice. And you do not need to convince people to see your worth. Those who truly care will feel your energy even in your silence. Those who misunderstand you will eventually reveal themselves, and that revelation costs you nothing, because you did not spend your energy trying to prove them wrong. Silence protects your energy by keeping you centered. It allows you to conserve your strength for things that matter. Your dreams, your health, your growth, your peace. When you are no longer reacting to everything, you start creating from a place of calm. You move forward without being dragged into the past. You reclaim your time, your mind, and your heart. So the next time you feel the urge to explain, to argue, to prove, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter in a week, a month, a year? Or is my silence the greater answer? You will find that often. Silence is not only the strongest response, it is the most powerful form of self-love. Focusing on yourself is not selfish. It is one of the most profound gifts you can give to your own life. There is a misconception in the world that placing yourself first means neglecting others. But in truth, when you nourish your own well-being, you strengthen your ability to face challenges, support others, and create a life that reflects your true potential. Inner strength is not something you stumble upon by chance. It is something you build brick by brick. And that building begins when you turn your attention inward. Think of how often your energy is scattered because your focus is everywhere except within you. You spend time worrying about other people's opinions, comparing your journey to theirs, seeking validation from those who may not even see your true value. In the process, your power leaks away in fragments. Focusing on yourself is the moment you decide to stop leaking your energy outward and begin to direct it where it matters most, into your own growth, your own healing, and your own dreams. Inner strength grows in the silence of personal commitment. It does not shout, it does not boast, it does not demand the world's applause. It builds quietly, often when no one else is watching. It builds in the small choices you make every day, choosing peace over drama, choosing discipline over distraction, choosing to speak to yourself with kindness rather than criticism. Each time you make a choice that honors your well-being, your inner strength becomes a little more solid, a little more unshakable. When you focus on yourself, you begin to discover parts of you that may have been buried under the noise of life. Talents that were forgotten, passions that were neglected, dreams that once felt too far away suddenly start to resurface. This is because your attention is like sunlight. Where it shines, growth begins. If your attention is always on others, then your own garden remains in shadow. But when you turn that light inward, you give your inner world the warmth it needs to grow strong roots. Inner strength is not about becoming hard or cold. It is about becoming steady. It is about knowing who you are and standing firmly in that truth even when the world tries to pull you in 100 directions. Life will always have its storms, disappointments, rejections, losses, and challenges. When your sense of self depends on external approval or circumstances. Every storm shakes your foundation, but when you have focused on building that foundation within, you may sway, but you will not break. This strength does not come overnight. It is a process of choosing again and again to return to yourself. There will be times when you are tempted to abandon your own path to chase after someone else's, or when the noise of the world makes you doubt the value of your journey. But inner strength whispers to you in those moments, keep going, keep building, keep growing. You do not need to be louder, you need to be rooted. Focusing on yourself also means becoming your own greatest ally. Too often we become our harshest critics, replaying our mistakes, doubting our worth, questioning our abilities. But when you make a conscious effort to build yourself up, You replace that inner critic with an inner coach, an inner supporter who reminds you of your worth and pushes you gently forward. Inner strength is nurtured by self-compassion as much as by discipline. And as your inner strength grows, you notice something powerful. You begin to attract different energy. Opportunities align more easily, relationships become healthier, and boundaries become natural rather than forced. This happens because your energy shifts. People sense when someone stands firmly in their own power, not through arrogance, but through quiet self-assurance. It is a calm confidence that says, I know who I am, and I am enough. By focusing on yourself, you also free others. When you stop depending on them for your sense of worth, you release them from roles they were never meant to play. You allow your relationships to become healthier, more balanced, and based on respect rather than need. Inner strength gives you the courage to walk away when something no longer aligns with your growth, and the patience to stay still when the world tells you to rush. So, focusing on yourself is not a temporary fix. It is a lifelong practice. It is a way of living where you become the foundation upon which everything else is built. You take responsibility for your energy, your choices, your healing, and your future. And as you continue to invest in yourself, you discover a strength that is quiet yet unshakable, soft yet powerful, gentle yet unstoppable. That is the kind of strength no one can give you and no one can take away. There is a unique strength in choosing silence when the world expects you to argue. We live in a time where everyone wants to prove their point, where every disagreement turns into a battle of words, and where being the loudest often seems like being the winner. But true wisdom knows this is not always the way. Silence, when chosen consciously, can speak more powerfully than any argument ever could. It carries a language that does not need words, a message that is felt rather than spoken. Think about how often arguments leave both sides drained, misunderstood, and further apart than before. Words, when thrown in the heat of conflict, rarely heal. They tend to wound, to divide, to escalate what could have been diffused with stillness. Silence offers something arguments never can. It gives space. Space for reflection, space for truth to rise on its own, space for tension to soften. Silence does not mean you have no opinion. It means you have chosen not to waste your peace on noise that leads nowhere. When you decide not to argue, you are not surrendering your truth. You are elevating it. There are people who are not ready to hear you, no matter how clearly you speak. There are moments when your explanation will only become fuel for more resistance. And there are times when the best way to protect your peace is to let the storm pass without stepping into it. Your silence in those moments becomes a statement. I do not need to win this battle because my energy is too valuable to be spent here. Silence also creates curiosity. When you stop reacting to provocation, those who thrive on conflict lose their grip on you. They begin to notice that their usual methods no longer work. Your lack of reaction unsettles them because it shows self-mastery. Anyone can shout, anyone can argue, anyone can let their emotions spill everywhere. But it takes strength to remain calm and quiet when chaos surrounds you. That kind of silence is not empty. It is full of power. There is also a deeper reason why silence often says more than arguments ever will. Words can be twisted, misunderstood, or ignored. Silence cannot. It is undeniable. It leaves room for others to reflect on their own behavior without your interference. It holds up a mirror without pointing a finger. Your silence tells them, I see what you are doing, but I refuse to be moved by it. That is a form of communication that cannot be debated. Choosing silence does not mean you avoid expressing your boundaries. It means you express them differently. There is a kind of silence that comes from weakness, where you hold back because you fear conflict, That is not the silence we speak of here. The silence that speaks louder than arguments is intentional, powerful, and chosen. It says, I know my worth. I do not need to shout to make it known. My absence of words is not an absence of truth. It is a presence of self-control. This approach does not just change your interactions, it transforms your inner world. Every argument avoided, every unnecessary reaction you let pass, leaves you with more energy for the things that truly matter. Your mind becomes less cluttered with rehearsed comebacks and more focused on your goals. Your heart carries fewer scars from battles that never needed to be fought. You begin to live in a state of calm down others can feel without you saying a single word. And what happens over time is remarkable. People start respecting you differently. They may not admit it at first, but they notice when you no longer explain yourself. They feel the shift when you stop meeting them in the chaos they try to create. Your silence teaches them more about your strength than your arguments ever could. It is a quiet declaration that says, I am no longer available for negativity. I choose peace over drama, truth over noise, and my growth over endless explanations. Silence is a strategy. It allows you to walk away without leaving pieces of yourself behind. It helps you conserve your energy and protect your emotional state. Most importantly, it reminds you that you do not need to convince anyone of your worth. The right people will see it, whether you speak or not. The wrong ones will argue until their last breath, and your silence will be the wall they cannot climb. So the next time you feel that burning urge to argue, pause. Take a deep breath. Remember that you have nothing to lose by staying calm, but you have everything to protect by staying silent. Sometimes, the loudest message you can ever deliver is the one you never speak. Focusing on yourself is one of the most powerful ways to create clarity in your life. Clarity does not come from trying to control others, from overanalyzing every situation, or from constantly asking the world for answers. It comes when you quiet the noise around you and turn your attention inward. When your energy is scattered, always worrying about what others think, chasing their approval, or trying to fix their lives. You lose sight of your own direction. But when you begin to focus on yourself, something shifts. The fog begins to lift. What once felt confusing starts to reveal its shape. You stop running in circles and start moving with intention. Clarity is not something you stumble upon by accident. It is the natural result of creating space for yourself. Most people try to find clarity in chaos, but chaos only breeds more confusion. Think of a glass of muddy water. The more you stir it, the cloudier it gets. But if you let it sit still, the particles settle, and the water becomes clear again. Your mind works the same way. The constant noise of opinions, conflicts, and distractions keeps your thoughts stirred up. Focusing on yourself, your growth, your healing, your peace, allows that mental mud to settle. In stillness, you can see clearly. This does not mean you shut the world out completely. It means you stop letting the world dictate your choices. You start asking different questions. What do I want? What feels right for me? What truly matters in this season of my life? These questions cannot be answered when you are busy reacting to everyone else's expectations. They can only be answered when you give yourself the space to listen to your own inner voice. And often that voice is soft. It is not demanding or loud. It waits for you to come home to it. When you focus on yourself, you also begin to see people more clearly. You notice who supports your growth and who drains your energy. You stop romanticizing red flags and start seeing patterns for what they are. Clarity in relationships is a gift that comes from self-awareness. When you know who you are and what you stand for, it becomes easier to recognize who belongs in your life and who only creates noise. Without that inner focus, You may find yourself chasing people who were never aligned with your path in the first place. Focusing on yourself also clarifies your priorities. Life is full of opportunities, distractions, and demands. Without clarity, you say yes to everything and end up overwhelmed, burnt out, and resentful. But when you know what truly matters to you, saying no becomes easier. You stop apologizing for protecting your time. You stop explaining why you choose peace over chaos. You begin to live in alignment with your values, and that alignment makes decision-making simple. Clarity is not just about seeing the path. It is about seeing yourself. It is about realizing that you already carry many of the answers you have been searching for. They were buried under the expectations of others, under old stories, under the pressure to fit in. As you focus inward, you start to hear those answers again. They come as gut feelings, quiet nudges, sudden moments of insight. You stop asking everyone else what you should do because you learn to trust your own guidance. This is why self-focus is not selfish. It is necessary. A person who is clear on their path can help others more than someone who is lost and scattered. Clarity allows you to set boundaries without guilt. It allows you to pursue goals that are meaningful rather than just impressive. It allows you to create a life that feels true rather than one that looks perfect on the outside but feels empty within. There will be people who do not understand your need for space. They may misinterpret your self-focus as distance or arrogance, but those who truly care about you will respect your journey. And those who don't were only attached to the version of you that overextended yourself for everyone else. The more you focus on your own clarity, the more you attract people and opportunities that match your true frequency. So, if you are feeling lost, the answer is not out there. It is within you. Pull your energy back. Stop explaining your every move. Stop running after people who do not value your presence. Focus on yourself, your habits, your health, your thoughts, your dreams. With time, the noise will fade, and what remains will be the truth you have been searching for. Clarity is born in the stillness of self-focus. And once you find it, you will wonder why you ever tried to seek it anywhere else. Silence has a way of commanding respect that no amount of shouting, pleading, or over-explaining ever could. When you choose not to constantly defend yourself, not to justify every decision, not to meet every provocation with a reaction, you send a powerful message without saying a single word. In a world where everyone feels the need to be heard at all times, silence becomes rare, and because it is rare, it becomes powerful. It is not the silence of weakness or avoidance, it is the silence of self-respect, of someone who knows their worth and does not feel the need to prove it over and over again. Respect is rarely demanded, it is earned. And one of the ways you earn it is by knowing when to speak and when to hold your tongue. Silence is a form of self-control, and self-control is a sign of strength. When others try to pull you into arguments, provoke you with their words, or challenge your boundaries, your ability to remain calm and unmoved often leaves a deeper impression than any argument you could construct. It shows that you are not easily shaken, that your peace cannot be purchased with cheap drama. There is a certain dignity that comes with silence. When you stop explaining yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you, you show that your time and your energy are valuable. People notice when you no longer chase them with words, when you no longer try to convince them of your intentions or your truth. At first, they may feel frustrated because your silence denies them the reaction they expect. But with time, it becomes clear that your quiet is not emptiness. It is presence. It is a way of standing your ground without shouting from the rooftops. Silence also forces others to sit with their own actions. When you withdraw your explanations, Your justifications and your need to be right, you hand the mirror back to them. They are left to reflect on what they said, what they did, and what role they played in the situation. Your silence does not give them more fuel. It starves the conflict of oxygen. That is why it is so commanding, because it makes them aware of the weight of their own behavior without you having to lift a finger. Think of the times when someone spoke less, yet their presence filled the room. It was not the volume of their voice that earned them respect. It was the gravity of their energy. Silence, when chosen with intention, creates that gravity. It says, I do not need to participate in every conversation. I do not need to fight every battle. I do not need to be understood by everyone to know who I am. That kind of quiet strength is rare, and people are drawn to it even if they cannot explain why. It is important to remember that silence does not mean suppressing your truth forever. It means choosing the right time, the right place, and the right way to express it. There are moments when speaking is necessary and courageous. But when words are wasted on ears that are closed or minds that are already made up, silence preserves your dignity and your energy. You are not avoiding the truth. You are simply refusing to cast your pearls before those who will not value them. Over time, the respect you earn through silence is deeper than the respect you try to force with noise. People may forget what you said in an argument, but they rarely forget how you carried yourself when you had every reason to lose control and chose not to. They remember the calm, the stillness, the refusal to be dragged into chaos. They remember that your boundaries were not defended with rage, but with presence. And the beauty of commanding respect through silence is that it works both ways. It teaches others how to treat you, and it teaches you how to treat yourself. Each time you stay quiet instead of reacting impulsively, you affirm your own worth. You remind yourself that your energy is too precious to be spent on things that do not matter. You build a reputation not only in the eyes of others, but in the eyes of your own soul, a reputation of someone who chooses peace over pettiness, presence over performance, and dignity over drama. So when you find yourself tempted to explain your worth, to defend your choices, to argue your truth into existence, pause. Take a step back. Let your silence carry the weight of your self-respect. The people who deserve to be in your life will hear it louder than any words you could ever say. And those who do not, let them sit with their own noise while you walk forward in your quiet strength. Focusing on yourself is not just about finding peace in the present, it is about shaping a future that reflects your highest potential. Every moment you spend directing your energy inward, nurturing your growth, and investing in your well-being is a seed planted for the life you are building ahead. The truth is, the future is not created by chance. It is created by choice. And the choices you make today about where you place your focus will shape the direction of your life tomorrow. When your attention is scattered, chasing approval, pleasing everyone, getting lost in endless distractions, you delay your own progress. But when you bring that energy back to yourself, you start creating a foundation that will support you for years to come. A better future begins with the realization that no one else is responsible for building it for you. The world may offer opportunities. People may support you along the way. But the responsibility to grow, to learn, to heal, and to move forward is yours alone. When you focus on yourself, you stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop putting your life on hold until others understand your vision or give you permission to act. You begin to make decisions that are rooted in your long-term well-being, even if they are not immediately understood by those around you. That is the kind of focus that builds a future worth living. Focusing on yourself also allows you to identify what truly matters. Many people spend years climbing ladders that lead to walls they never wanted to lean on in the first place. They follow paths that were never their own, only to discover too late that the success they achieved feels empty. When you spend time with yourself, reflecting, journaling, learning what excites you, what drains you, what feels aligned, you start to design a future that feels real. You begin to set goals that come from within, not ones handed to you by society or by someone else's expectations. There is also a deep sense of empowerment that comes with this kind of focus. You no longer move through life hoping to stumble upon your destiny. You actively create it. You develop skills that align with your dreams. You let go of habits that sabotage your potential. You surround yourself with people who elevate you rather than distract you. These choices, small as they may seem in the moment, accumulate into momentum. And momentum is what carries you from who you are today to who you are meant to become. The future is shaped by where your energy flows, and energy flows where your attention goes. If your attention is constantly caught up in the lives of others, what they think, what they do, how they treat you, you give them the power to shape your path. But if your attention is rooted in self-growth, every challenge becomes a lesson, every setback becomes a redirection, and every step becomes intentional. That is how you create a future that feels solid instead of fragile. Focusing on yourself does not mean cutting off the world or becoming selfish. It means building a strong enough foundation so that when you do give to others, you give from overflow, not depletion. A person who is whole within themselves can create a future that benefits everyone around them, because they are no longer giving from a place of resentment or emptiness. They give because they choose to, not because they need to be validated. And perhaps the most beautiful part of focusing on yourself is how it changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing to catch up with others. You stop fearing that you are behind. You begin to trust your process because you know you are building something real. The future stops feeling like a vague, distant dream and starts feeling like a living reality that is being shaped with every intentional choice you make. So if you want a better future, bring your focus back home, work on your mind, strengthen your body, heal your heart, protect your peace. Learn new things, explore new ideas, and be willing to let go of the old versions of yourself that no longer serve where you are going. Every step you take toward your own growth, no matter how small, is a declaration: I am building something meaningful. I am preparing for the life I deserve. The future is always created twice. First in the mind, then in reality. When you focus on yourself, you give your mind the clarity to imagine something greater and the strength to bring it to life. One day you will look back and realize that the quiet seasons where you chose yourself were the seasons that built everything that came after. That is the power of focus. It does not just change your today, it transforms your tomorrow.